Hello again, everyone. This is Joshua again with Our Tiny Homestead, and this is the second episode in the series titled Self-Reliance, What Our Government Doesn't Want. We are about to have an interview with another local rural landowner. It's just another example of somebody that wants to do really great things for the community and live in a really clean and healthy and self-reliant way. And we want to share as many of these stories as possible with you so that you can see some of the realities of the situation and some of the beauty of this type of lifestyle. So thank you again for subscribing and for taking the time to watch these videos. Thank you for taking the time to have this interview with me. It's really important to share this lifestyle and to share all the great things that come into a self-reliant and off-grid lifestyle. What made you consider first, what made you want to live a self-reliant and off-grid lifestyle in northern Arizona?
I don't think I specifically knew that it would be in northern Arizona, but I think as any good American, you reach a point of wanting to be free regardless, and that's not anywhere else. You know, you realize how not free you are everywhere else. Is how it hits you. You know, you realize you can't get in your car without being scared. You can't do anything, you know, in the city at all. And even if you have your own land this is the only place that I've found that you can have your own land and not be messed with.
How does it make you feel to hear that people in this area are now being messed with by the county?
Nervous.
Told that they can't.
I'm sure it's kind of like the same thing soon to be extinct species feels, you know, when they're the last and you're just like trying to hold down your one little way, you know, right? Yeah. You know, like
the Alamo.
Yeah. I mean, it's not, and what's really sad is like what we are doing here should be a representation of our entire country. We are supposed to be the freest country in the world. You know what I mean? Like, this is the way it should be everywhere here. We are the land of the free. You know, we are built on it. You know, it's supposed to be that way here. If nowhere else on earth, here it is supposed to be like that. You know, I don't think you can call yourself a good American or a good patriot if you're not trying to be free. And it doesn't feel right to anybody who gets back to themselves, down to the core. It feels unnatural, you know? And if you get back to your natural, what feels good to yourself is to be free. Everybody is born with the free spirit, you know? You're supposed to live free. It's supposed to just be a normal way of life. You know, it's not supposed to be this. It sadly is a rebellion against our government right now, but it shouldn't be. You know what I mean? Our government should be protecting our way as Americans. You know, they should be protecting what we do.
Yeah, homesteading, you know? Was absolutely the way that this country started.
This country got built like that, you know?
And when people own their own property, when people own their own land, they don't go into debt for it. They don't want to go into debt for their house. They want to build their own home. They want to grow their own food.
They want to be able to make a way of living from their land.
The government should, in my opinion, and I'm pretty sure in yours from what you've been saying, they should support that. The first law pertaining to chickens, the first regulation, city regulation, was to support and encourage the community to have backyard chickens and to produce their own eggs and chicken meat. And now, backyard chicken coops are becoming illegal across the United States. They're regulating them and saying that they're a nuisance. Those types of things are what we're hoping to address in these videos and to hopefully change. So thank you for sharing your opinion on that. You live out here with
my family.
Your family.
Yeah,
and you are creating your own gardening, your own gardens, and you are building a
It's called a rake-in.
A rake-in, which
yes,
is...
it's a rabbit and
that?
chicken house in one. You have your rabbits up high and your chickens down low, and it's all completely self-sustains together.
And so you're starting a form of permaculture out here as well.
Correct.
I think you were talking about that a little bit.
Yep.
What's your long-term goal? I know before the interview started, you were talking to me a little bit about your house and how you were building that. That was really interesting. But what is your long-term goal as far as what you want to have out here on the property?
I have some pretty big long-term goals. I'm going to self-sustain. I'm going to self-sustain this town, not just us.
Because you're starting the produce exchange.
I'm going to do what it takes in my power to make sure everybody that's here can have everything that they need right here among our neighbors, you know, and anything I can do.
Co-op type of situation.
Yep. To where we don't need to go to Chino. We shouldn't be shipping food up from Phoenix. You know what I mean? It's very helpful. I don't want people to go hungry. You have to create alternatives.
It's very hard to get anything going in this town. Again, it sounds like we're a broken record here, but it's really hard to get anything going in this town because the county is making it so hard to open anything.
It's a catch-22.
Tell us a little bit about your experience with the county with your food stand that you wanted to open in town.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. They want me to have a commercial, but I have permission, express permission from the owner of the property for me to sell my produce there.
And it's commercial zoning, correct?
It's commercially, and it's dual zoned, that piece. It's commercially zoned and residentially zoned on the back piece. So I could literally do whatever I wanted. And it's a really great spot in town. It is right next to the only store, and it's a great spot. Produce, I do not have to have my produce permitted. Cottage goods, I have a certificate that I got for free from the state of Arizona for my cottage goods, and also do not have to have a permit. But instead of not having to have a permit for two things that you don't have to have permits to sell, I still have to have a permit.
So you had a permit from the state to do this legally. You had permission from the owners of the property.
Correct.
There's
private
nothing
property
there in the property. You're not blocking any easements. You're not blocking any storefronts.
Right.
I've been to that location. There hasn't been anything there for a while, and you're trying to open up something good for the community, and the county stepped in and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, told you that you still, even with the correct zoning, still needed a conditional use permit to operate.
Correct. I also need a commercially permitted building as well. I cannot sell like from my truck or from a trailer. I can't set up a table with a tent like you would at a farmer's market. I can't do that either. I have to have a building that will pass commercial inspection as well.
I'm sorry. I know we talked about this on the phone a little bit, but this is really frustrating for me because, you know, of our personal experience. We were trying to operate a home-based business from our ranch property, which is not far from here, from yours, and it's residential zoning, and they told us that we needed a conditional use permit, which was a $3,000 non-refundable application fee to apply. No guarantees that it'll get approved to apply for this permit because we were in residential zoning and we wanted to operate a business. So just to clarify for the people watching this video, the county tells us that we need a conditional use permit to operate a business in residential zoning because it's incorrect zoning, and they're telling you that you need a conditional use permit to operate a produce stand
that doesn't need permits.
That doesn't technically, according to the state,
properly zoned piece of property that I have permission to be on.
So when do we not need a conditional use permit?
Never is the county not going to stick their hand in your pocket. Correct. And when I ask them what the money goes to for that specific fund, because I know that the stuff they're collecting out here goes to impact fees and whatever else, they said it goes to the general fund.
The general county fund,
The general county fund. Which is really great for Ash Fork, that's on the edge of the county and doesn't get any of that money.
Which is unincorporated, so we as residents in an unincorporated area get none of that general fund.
Correct.
Yeah, that's, again, for those of you watching this video, this is just one example of the wrong that I as a person am in my small way trying to fix. Because there's so many of these issues, it's too many to list, but hopefully we're gonna touch on quite a few of them in this series of videos. I'm actually shaking right now just thinking of it. I'm so mad.
We are working on ways around, but it's just a hard position that they have you in.
Well, I hope it works out, and I hope that these videos help. I hope that these regulations start to change, because what's happening now is more and more people, and I mentioned this in our first video, more and more people are wanting to live the self-reliant lifestyle. More and more people are, I mean, the tiny home movement is huge. The backyard gardening movement is huge. The home chicken coop, the city chicken coop movement is huge. There's so many like-minded individuals that want to live a more responsible and self-reliant life.
Right.
And they have plans to even. They're saving up to buy a tiny home. They're saving up to buy that parcel of land that they can work. They want to work it. These aren't lazy individuals. These are people that want to go out.
That's the whole point of the produce stand, is to be able to buy our land, grow our vegetables, and sell them in the town that we live in.
And what's happening is the county is making it next to impossible to live this way. They don't have regulations in place to allow tiny homes. The only place that you can legally see tiny homes now are either A, classified as an RV in somebody's RV pull in at their home, or B, in a mobile home community.
Right.
It is next to illegal right now to have a parcel of land and have a tiny home on it, because there are no code allowances and variances that allow for an unconventional home. So your home you're doing is very similar to the Earthship style homes in New Mexico, correct?
Yes, I'm very excited about it.
So can you clarify, please, for the sake of the video, your personal opinion on the current permitting fees regulations that are currently in place for off-gridders, tiny homeowners, self-reliant homesteads? Can you just, for the end of this interview, kind of tell us what you think would be the best possible solution, or how?
Well, I always go by the no permission, no permits, no problems way of life, you know. And that's the same way that I feel about this. Like, people aren't living in tiny homes because they can afford giant mansions. You know, they aren't. If you're downsizing your life to the point where it is what you can handle, that is the way it should be, instead of overextending credit in your life and having to slave away forever like that for someone else who's taking most of your money before you get it, you know. But if you are making your life to where you can manage it yourself and you can handle it, that is what sustains this earth.
Without going into debt.
Correct.
And without being wasteful.
Right. You know, if it's what you can handle, you know, and if you add permits and things to that, it's no longer what you can handle. You might as well be paying a house payment somewhere. You know, it's no longer sustainable at that point. They bury you.
It's supporting a department, local government that doesn't
support us back.
Doesn't support us back. That's next to, I'm going to say it. It's next to taxation without representation. It's pretty close to the same type of issues that they had. You know?
Taxation will always be theft. And those of us who don't want to be slaves anymore will find ways to free ourselves. And this is the way. This is the way.
Thank you for sharing. On that note, let's end the interview with a little bit of your background about, and share as much as you want, but about where you came from and your experience in the food industry and your passion for cooking and some of the things we talked about before.
Well, I guess I would say I am most well known in the activist community for my underground restaurant out of Savannah, The Last Biscuit. It is legend. It is what it is. I created.
Sorry, I missed that.
I created an entire free market way to run business. Every one of my employees were paid on percentage of sales. We paid no permits, had no permission. It was no problem. You know, we stayed under the radar.
Did you have any instances with somebody getting sick, or anybody having any?
Zero instances of anyone ever getting sick. And I was very different. You know, food is my passion. It is what I love. It is what I'm here to do. I'm here to free the food. I'm here to let people know that you cannot walk into a grocery store, grocery, GROSSERY, grocery. You know what I mean? Because that's what it is. It's straight poison. It is poison. You will never be able to vibrate to your highest self and find who you are eating what we have out there right now. It is not possible.
And people are adults. People that come into your restaurant that choose to eat your food, you weren't regulated, but they are people that knew that they were getting healthy food. They were people that knew
there were people that
cooking
can
healthy,
eat
good
from
food.
me that can't eat at restaurants because I get my stuff fresh from the butcher. I get my stuff fresh from the gardener. You know, they may not pay the $250,000 to say organic, but baby, it's organic because they didn't use anything on it, and that's what we serve.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and I'm passing those savings along. My plates were $7 a plate. No delivery, free delivery.
And you were supporting the community.
We're open 24/7. And you want to talk about supporting the community in Savannah? You can drink open container for 17 blocks in Savannah. After 11 o'clock, you can't get food nowhere.
No.
So here's the last biscuit. We will deliver to you. Hold on to the light post long enough. We'll be there. You know what I mean? And my Facebook page reeled every day with the lives that we saved for delivering to people that didn't want to drive drunk. You know, and there's no other option. You know, and it's like, you know,
because the county, the local governments weren't making any permitting, regulatory fees off of this. They didn't want to support it. If you don't support the machine,
they tried to shut me down. I had so many supporters. I mean, all of downtown supported me, and they tried to shut me down. They made people remove my menus, and you know, a lot of places supported me. You know, and but it was what the people wanted, and you know, I've been doing this my entire life. Health inspectors can take a 6-month class to be a health inspector. So when they're calling me, I'm like, baby, you got new information for me? Because I've been doing this my whole life. You know, if you want to tell me what you learned in your 6 months, go ahead. I've got 10 minutes. And it's really important for people to learn, like, my business design was important in that we paid in percentages. It was completely free market. You know what I mean? Nobody paid taxes, you know, and every savings that I had was passed along. You know, I'm a single mom. I'm a veteran. I could have got every loan known to man out there. But I could not sign on the dotted line to say that I would charge people 5 times what I paid for food. They said, unless I didn't sign on the dotted line to say that I would do that, it wasn't a sound business plan. I think they don't have a sound business plan, and that's why the economy's fucked up.
That sounds pretty crooked.
You know what I mean? Right. You are why we're broke. You know what I mean? And I ain't having no part of it. So I didn't, you know, and with no money backing me, I went to the library, I printed up my little menus. I told my daughter, you know, I may not be able to afford Nikes for you every month like I've been able to up until this point, but I can't do this anymore for anyone else.
Again, our goal is to just wake people up, just bring them the realization of what really is happening out there. And if we continue to let this happen, nobody is going to be free. And I really appreciate your support and you taking the time to share your story.
I think it's really important. It's so important that people stop sleeping. It's so important that as Americans, we don't lay down for nobody. We lay down for no other country. Why are we laying down for our own government?
Just ask yourself that question. And
how American are you?
I really appreciate my friend and another rural landowner here in northern Arizona telling us a little bit more about her story and what her experiences are. What a story. There's so many different walks of life out here and different individuals, and each story is so interesting, and everybody has their own opinions, but again, what most people can agree on is that just live and let live. Let people be free that want to be free. Let people live the way that they want to live. There was very limited, there was no coaching, as you could probably tell by listening to that video or to that interview. We didn't really talk about this beforehand at all. I sent her a list of questions, of 5 questions that I would ask her that we would go over, and that was it. And the rest was all her personal experiences and her personal opinion, which I value. And I agree with a lot of the things that she said. Of course, nobody agrees on everything, but the root, which is what I'm trying to get at in these interviews, the root of the issue is over-regulation and over-permitting and just micromanagement of upstanding citizens that own their own property and want to live the way that they want to live in rural areas. We are paying the fees. We are being forced and threatened into paying the fees, into accommodating their regulations without any support. No support from these institutions that we are supporting. with our hard-earned income and capital and our blood, sweat, and tears, and it's wrong. Thank you so much again for taking the time to watch these videos and this interview. Just think about these things. You want to be left alone to live how you would like to live, and so do we. So we appreciate your support, and we would appreciate you sharing these videos, and thank you again. We'll see you next time.